Alana Humphries. Hello.
Hi, how are you, Zach?
I'm great. Have you done a lot of like interviews like this ever in your life?
No, not
First one?
yes, like this. I've done interviewing and I've been interviewed, but more for jobs and career, essentially. Nothing
Got
like
it.
this.
You have quite the story. Former journalist. That's me.
Mhm.
And storyteller. I hear a lot of stories. And I remember when the first time I met you, I was like, wow, like there's a lot there. And anywhere from corporate medical field to um, going out on your own and creating your own boutique med spa to the weight loss journey, the mother, lover of cats. There's a lot of exciting things in there.
I
Um,
wouldn't call myself a lover of cats, but yes, I do have a
oh,
kitten.
well, I mean, I don't know. I would think that your cat would want you to be the lover of
I love
at
that
least
cat.
that cat.
I love
Okay.
that cat.
Let me rephrase that. A lover of a cat.
Correct. I'm actually a
So
dog person more so.
smart,
Yeah,
smart.
yeah.
So if you were to meet someone and it was like I don't know, 12-story building, you get into that elevator and they said, tell me your life. How would you describe your
Mm.
life in a 12-story elevator ride?
And an elevator ride. Okay. I'd probably say the biggest way to describe my life is colorful. It's been one heck of a ride. I grew up as a Navy brat, so we traveled the world. I started kindergarten in Japan and lived in Hawaii, and um, always knew that I wanted to be a nurse. So I went to nursing school. I got married. I started having my family. I had a big family. Um, then spent 23 years working in acute care, working in the hospital setting with open heart surgery, ICU, CCU, cath lab, etc. Um, then I went into left acute care and went into corporate healthcare. Spent 11 years in corporate healthcare, really pounding the pavement and working hard. Went into a lot of leadership roles within corporate healthcare. And then I decided to just shift gears completely and open my own business. So um, I'm somebody who really embraces life, and so I really like to be adventurous and enjoy people, and this has given me that opportunity.
How does one know, like in life, a lot of people like they try to figure out, okay, this is what I want to be when I grow up, this is what I
Mm.
want to do. And you said you always knew that you want to be a nurse. Uh, was there a scenario where you just immediately knew? Did something happen? Like how did you know that okay, the nursing world was
Yeah,
for you?
that's a great question. I don't really know. It's like from my oldest childhood memories of wanting to choose what it is I wanted to do. I just knew that that was for me. I think that it was more of a calling for me than anything.
Very cool. So you do the medical field in the actual ICU, I believe you said.
Hmm.
There's so many different the medical vernacular
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
associate with. So you're in that for 20 years. Then you go to the corporate side of it. Hard
Hmm.
transition, easy transition, something that you
um, it was a fairly easy transition. I was after 23 years of doing what I was doing. Um, I think I got in order to be in cardiology and cardiac surgery and such, you almost have to be an adrenaline junkie, and because you always have to be on. And I think I was ready to not be an adrenaline junkie anymore. So, um, and I was really at that point honing my leadership skills because I was when I was in the acute care setting, I was working in some leadership, so I was honing my leadership skills and really was enjoying a lot of that. So that transition I was ready for.
got it. And then when you do when you decide to open Instant Vitality Lounge, had that just been, you know, something out of the blue? Had you been thinking about for a long time? How did that come to fruition? Because you know,
Yeah,
when you hear someone that's done the 30 years in the medical world to then be like, hey, you know what, I'm gonna do this on my
mhm,
own.
sure. I No, it was a sort of game time decision. It was literally a very quick decision. I was working as a vice president of clinical operations for a telemedicine company out of Brooklyn, New York, and was tired um, of the corporate world, essentially. And I knew I needed something to make me feel alive again. And so I was um, scrolling through Facebook one day and saw this ad with this company that helps nurses build businesses. And so I clicked on it, and it was IV hydration. And when I looked at it, I started reading through it, and I had seen that ad. I'd probably seen that ad 20 times if I'd seen it once. But I finally clicked on it. And as I'm reading through the program, I just thought, this is what I should be doing. This is where I want to be. I want to help people with their wellness and their longevity, and this is exciting, and I can build it. And I, you know, thought, okay. And that day I quit my job, and I had done the called my mom and said, I quit my job and I'm starting a new business. Same day.
Well, yeah, I think you're really big on trusting your gut. I think that's a very powerful statement, way to live. A lot of
Mhm.
people don't do that. Studies say that it takes at least 6 or 7 times to even see an ad for the first time, even though
Mhm.
it's been running. And then
Mhm.
the fact that you saw that one from Nursepreneurs, I believe,
Yes.
for 20, 30 times to then finally click it and then be like, this is for me.
Hmm. And I do have to say, I really always enjoyed the IV piece of my acute care world. Excuse me. I was always the person that they would grab when they were having trouble sticking somebody, or um, so it was always natural for me.
Did they have a nickname for you?
No, well, probably, but maybe I don't know.
Not like the Ivy lady,
Yeah, they
stick
just
me,
say, "Go get
stick me.
Elena." Just go get Elena.
I was hoping for something exciting there.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
You're so colorful, but not with the
Mm.
nicknames. Mm,
Oh, I'm the one that usually nicknames people.
all right, nervous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so you're doing all of this,
Mhm.
and your weight at some point gets
Mm.
higher than you want it to be. Is this something that happened young in younger life, in early life? Was it, you know, in corporate life? When did you recognize that weight was something that was, oh, I need to be concerned
Mhm.
about this?
I have always been what I thought was overweight. Um, I go back and look at myself as a teen in high school, even when I was in the best shape of my life because I was an athlete. Um, I still felt like I was never that skinny girl. So I've always struggled with it. And then four babies and life and, you know, everything that happens, it just sort of comes on time, year after year after year. Unfortunately, when I lived in Nashville, Tennessee for 5.5 years, I put 70 pounds on. So um, it was a gradual thing, and I've struggled with it pretty much my adult life.
And at some point during that, you decide, okay, enough is enough. Had you
Um,
lost some weight sometimes? Like what,
oh
I've
yeah,
heard people talk
yeah,
about like the yo-yos and stuff like
oh yeah.
that. Like
Mhm.
what made it
There
serious
is
this
not,
time?
yeah, there's not a diet known to man that I haven't been on, and I would have some success, and then put it back on, and I would have start something else and have some success and put it back on, and I have I struggled for as long as I did, and I knew about gastric surgery, gastric bypass surgery, gastric sleeve surgery, etc. And I had just decided, it took me 10 years of contemplating doing it to make the decision to actually go through with it. Um, and so I did. And I did it at the same time I decided to open this business. So when I go big. So it all happened at once.
That's interesting though, because as you talk about trusting your gut, it took you 10 years
Mhm.
to trust your gut on this. Was there like what was what
It's
was the what was the hesitation? Because you just said you're going to go on a trip today to go see your daughter 10 hours away. You made an immediate decision,
Mhm,
yet something that's been in the back of your mind far longer than going on a drive to a different
mhm,
state.
mhm.
You make an abrupt decision on that, not on this. Like what was the
Well,
hesitation there?
there's a lot to consider with that. I mean, one, going under anesthesia is nothing to, um, shake an eye at, and or blink an eye at, I should say. You So the risks involved, especially when you're obese, the risks of having surgery are, um, it's a lot. It's so that, you have to be emotionally ready. You really have to know that this is the route you want to take. I did a lot of research over the years. Um, I looked at a lot of things, did a lot of reading. So I went into it eyes wide open, essentially, and I knew all the potential things that I would feel. And I was finally, though, ready to just take control of my life. And um, some of that has to do with my grandkids. I wanted to be around and available and able to get on the floor and play with them and spend time with them and not end up in a wheelchair and not end up in using a walker and stuff. Some of my motivation too is I love to travel. I've been on many trips, and it was getting harder and harder to travel, and my weight was holding me back from having a full life. And everything else about my life, and I do mean everything, has been very full. That was the one thing that was just really holding me back. And so I was ready. Emotionally, I was ready. I was ready to shed that Elena and let the real Elena come through.
You were telling me a story about the previous vacation that you just went on,
Hmm.
and the aspect of you went with your mother,
Hmm.
and you usually had to catch up to her.
Yeah.
But this one,
Hmm.
now she was like, hey, like, come back. Like, you're now, the speed demon
Hmm.
of the group.
Hmm.
I mean, that probably hasn't happened in a really long time to be in that situation. You weren't even it wasn't even like on your mind. You just happened to be, running a mile ahead of her.
Yeah.
And
I can walk fast now without getting short of breath, and it's an amazing thing. Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's really cool. Um, you said something to me one of the first times we met that I found very interesting, and that's people look at you differently now, but
Oh.
also you look at yourself differently.
Mhm.
Is that something that you immediately saw? Is that something that you just out of happenstance started seeing? Like how did that come to us to start seeing it?
Um, as I was losing my weight, I just became um, more noticeable that things like people saying hello when you pass them in the hallway, or holding a door for you, or I would always hold the door for other people, but people are really uncomfortable with obese people. Um, Now, my mother has said to me, maybe they haven't changed as much as you've changed, because and that it took her saying that to me. I think the my persona and what I the energy that I give out is different than what I used to. And my own probably my own defense mechanisms is, assuming that somebody's not going to mistreat me, but not treat me well because they only see the outside. So as I started to see myself differently and other people see me differently, then it's sort of turned into um, a much happier thing, a much more comfortable thing.
Hmm. That's it's interesting. It's interesting. I remember back in the day, for me, people would be like, "Oh, big guy." To me, I'm
Mhm.
like,
Oh
what are
yeah,
they
people
saying?
will say they'll say all kinds of things.
Yeah,
People don't hold back.
it's very weird.
It is. It is.
People are crazy. Have you started? So okay. So you now help people with weight loss
Mhm.
in your business,
Mhm.
and one of the strongest, I'll call it, features to Instant Vitality Lounge is that you're not necessarily a person who has just studied this and said, here's what you need to do because here are the macros, here's the fitness that you need to do. You've actually lived the pain that many of these individuals are going through,
Mhm.
and I think that's very special. I've watched this documentary before called "Fit to Fat to Fit." I don't know if you've
Mhm.
ever seen it,
I
but
have.
it's really interesting. So it's a fitness instructor or some sort of fitness influencer who then meets a new client and says, I'm going to gain like 50, 60 pounds, and then I'm going to lose it with you so that I understand what you're going through. And
Mhm.
maybe it's staged, maybe it's not, but it's interesting how in there they're like, wow, like this is a hell of a lot tougher than you would think,
Mhm.
because a lot of the diet that is in American culture is very addicting, and these
Mhm.
these individuals aren't used to eating it. So then they're eating like cheeseburgers and pizzas and ice creams and all the good stuff, heading over to the Mac Shack, getting a Big Mac, whatever. And then so they're eating all this, and then it's hard for them to even get started again, even
Mhm.
though they've been in super great shape before. So having that as a feature in your business, how are you using your experience to help guide prospects,
Mhm.
clients, people that
Mhm.
are coming in the door saying, what what can I expect? What am I going to go through, type of thing?
Sure, sure. Well, so there is some difference because my weight loss program utilizes medication. So the medication semaglutide, which is a generic form of Ozempic or Wegovy. So uh, the interesting thing about that drug is the mechanism of action. So it's a GLP-1 agonist. So when you get it, it attaches it attaches to the receptors, the GLP-1 receptors that are found in our gut and in our head. And when that happens, um, the hunger goes away and the food noise goes away. And by food noise, I mean like food cravings. So you don't necessarily want that late night ice cream or anything like that. Well, interestingly, when I had my gastric sleeve surgery, they removed 85% of my stomach. So the biggest difference between my clients and me is that I have a physical restriction as to how much food I can eat at a given time. But when they removed that 85% in my stomach, they removed 85% of those GLP-1 receptors. So I feel everything that my clients feel. So um, any of the side effects, I'm rarely hungry. I don't have food cravings. That's been one of the strangest things uh, through my whole process. But what I have to offer my clients is true understanding of what they've gone through, what they're going through, and where they might want to be. And I have so many tricks of the trade of making sure you get all your protein in and making sure that you are doing all the things that you need to do so that when you come off of that medication, you have changed your lifestyle enough that you can maintain that weight loss. And, the statistics are not good on coming off of the medication and maintaining the weight loss because 75% of people will gain it back. Now, with my clients, we have a few tactics and we're working through those tactics the entire time that they're on the program so that they do know how to handle it when the hunger comes back and the cravings come back and all of those things happen.
Why do you think that any 5% of people are gaining that back?
I'm sorry?
You said so that's are drawing the wrong way, right? Some
Yep.
people
Mm-hmm.
are in fact gaining it back. Why do you think that
Mm-hmm.
is?
Because they haven't changed their lifestyle. They're only counting on the drug. And just like anything else, including my surgery, it's just another tool. There's so much that you have to do as an individual to maintain or to, it's, you have to put the effort in. And if you don't put the effort in and you don't make the changes that need to be made, then yeah, the drug's going to work for you. But then as soon as you go off of it, you're going to be struggling again.
Okay, so ultimately it's a jump start to get going. You're going to
Well,
see
it's
some wins in there,
yep.
and
Mm-hmm.
then you have to still learn and educate yourself and readjust your body in as
Mm-hmm.
many ways as possible.
Yes. So my mother said something to me years ago, which has stuck with me, and I've told it to many of my clients, and that is nothing tastes as good as thin feels. And there's some definite merit to that. And I like to carry it just a little bit further and think that nothing tastes as good as healthy feels because I'm much healthier than I was. And so are my clients are all feeling that as well.
One thing that I found very touching is when you were looking back at old pictures
Mhm.
or telling the stories the first time.
Mhm.
Has that gotten easier at this point, or is that still a?
Depends on the situation. I can still get very emotional. I can I can still cry, over it. I can look at old pictures and I can feel very proud of myself, but I can look at old pictures and think, wow, what a sad person. And so that will choke me up. So
I mean, I'm trying to make you cry here. That's
I know
ultimately
you.
what I'm not. I'm not. I
I
feel bad.
know.
I
I
feel
know.
bad when it happens. You said you were ready 18 months ago or so to do it. You were finally ready. 10 years of research. You had made
Mhm,
up your mind.
mhm.
Was there a checklist? Is there like how do you know when you're ready? Like because I think a lot of people are like, oh, January 1st effects, right? Like the whole New Year resolution, new
Mhm,
year, new
mhm.
me. 15 days later, same year, new year, same me, whatever. Like I hate New Year resolutions for that reason too. It's
Yes.
like they can be
Yes.
all the time. That everything doesn't have to be on a Monday. It doesn't have to be January 1.
Mhm.
So what happens if you have a great idea and it's February 3rd? You would got to wait 11 months. It's silly.
No, I
But
usually make all of my big decisions in the fall for whatever reason. So,
there you go. But
yeah.
is there something that people should be looking at? Like, hey, like obviously in the back of my mind, I can look in the mirror. I know how I feel. I don't like any of these situations, but this is what I can do to really say, okay, I'm ready to have this jump start.
I think that it's really just very individualized. Everybody is on their own journey. And for me, knowing that, um, I don't know, as you said, I follow my gut. And I knew that I had exhausted all of my resources with the exception of surgery. And of course, at the time, semaglutide wasn't a thing, or it was a thing, but not available to me until I opened this business. Um, but so for me, it was a matter of okay, do I continue to put weight on? Do I end up um, very unhealthy, likely dying young? Um, in a wheelchair or using a walker, hip replacements, knee replacements, um, no diabetes, but all of the things that go along with that. Um, and for me, the answer was no. I don't. I'm still young. I'm still vibrant. I just knew, and it was just time. So um, it was the best decision I've made in my entire life.
You have grandkids now.
I have
You,
grandkids
you have mentioned them. It's the biggest smile I've seen in the day. Um,
now.
it, do you think at the end of the day, having a why like that is people got to figure out what that is. People got to figure
Yeah,
out
yeah. You and I
your
have talked.
grandkids.
Yep. You and I have talked about finding your why. The why. The why is holding up the mirror, right? You have to hold the mirror up and say, "Am I where I want to be in my life? Am I the happiest? Am I the most that I can be in this lifetime?" And when you hold that mirror up and you can't say yes, then you got to dig deeper, even deeper. You dig deeper and you say, okay, if I do something about this, what's my reasoning? Um, and for me, my grandkids were a big part of my reason. See, you're going to make me cry. My grandkids were a big part of my reason. But at the same time, so was my well being. Um, I think our whys are often things that are, like, why do I want to open this business? I want to help people. Okay, but dig deeper. Is it that I want to help people, or is what do I get from it? Because it's always you gain something. As when you give, you also gain. So um, I was giving my grandchildren a grandmother, basically, um, to be part of their lives and hopefully live a much longer life than I would have otherwise. But what was I gaining? I was gaining a, a vibrant life. I was gaining my health back. I had a chronic cough that was so bad. And as soon as I started losing weight, and I had it for years, and I'd go to the doctor and they couldn't tell me what it was. As soon as I started losing weight, it was gone. I haven't used an inhaler in over a year, well over a year. So um, I gained something too. So that's my why was me. And my why, it's okay. It's okay that it was a selfish why, digging deep. And I have to say that now I'm having fun with clothing and you know going out and shopping and doing things that I couldn't do before. So finding the why and knowing the why, my why started out as my grandchildren, but then it got deeper. But you have to be willing to look deep within and say, yeah, I'm not happy with where my life is right now in this situation.
So what I'm hearing from that is be selfish.
The best way to give to others is to fulfill yourself, because there's nothing left if you're not fulfilled. You can't give to others unless you're fulfilled.
You're really good at these like one-liners. Like there's like zinger after zinger in here. I, I have enjoyed your excitement around just like, oh, here's my number now. Here's where I am.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I was looking at some video that was taken in about January this year. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember I was watching it and I was like, wow, like we're only a couple months since then. This is a dramatic difference. This is awesome. And just
Mm-hmm.
to see how that excitement is in you. And then
Mm-hmm.
you add some other stats like, okay, there's no longer chronic cough. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I can roll around with my grandkids. I'm faster than my mother now. Like all these little pieces.
I can ride on an airplane without a seatbelt extender and touching my neighbor. Yeah. I can reach the bottom of my washing machine now. Yeah. There's a lot of great things. Yes, and it's exciting.
Well, no one likes to clean clothes. I mean, that's just like actually, I don't think people mind cleaning clothes. I think it's the folding or
It's
the
folding
making
and
of
putting them
the bed.
away. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, that's the painful thing. So where are you at weight loss now? What do you think is the future? What do you think's next?
I'm down 125 pounds as of this morning. Um, and I think maybe another 5 to 10 pounds. Um, and then I want to maintain. So I've got to learn to figure out how to stop losing after at that point. So um, I don't know. I will end up having some plastic surgeries, and um, that's going to be an interesting journey as well. But definitely what I want to do. Um, it's just the future's bright. Honestly, the future's bright, and you know, I'm seeing my clients with their success feeling the same way, and it's just so exciting.
Yeah, I know for me that's something that's quite powerful. It's, back in the day I used to do all these things, have some success from that, but now being able to see others take
Mhm.
to fulfill their goals and to get in front and do the things that they want, I think that's a powerful thing. So for you to be able to do that with yours, it's really cool. If someone's watching, someone's listening to this, and they're where you were 5 years ago,
Mhm.
they are where
Mhm.
you were 18, 24 months ago.
Mhm.
What are your wisdom words, your zingers, your lines for them?
My zingers. Um, I would just, figure out the why. They've got to know their why. They're, we set ourselves up for failure if we don't know our true why. It's easier to stick to when you do, and I think that's the first place you start. And then you have to decide which way to what way to go. Surgery's not for everybody. Um, Semaglutide's not for everybody. Um, and but the journey and what you gain from it is so worth it once you're there. Once you're there to take the journey.